My guest today has quite the resume. He's been on Wall Street, he's been a corporate fixer, and a Hollywood producer of Oscar-nominated films like The Kids Are All Right. Now he is an author. Most people see this as quite a victory lap, but I see a restless search for meaning. So we're going to be digging into the messy middle of reinvention. Ron Stein, author of the new book, Say Yes to Your Own Success. Welcome. How are you doing today?
Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate you inviting me on. Doing well, doing well. In New York City today, so great. Thanks for having me.
Lovely, no, thanks for coming. So I want to get a sense of the man behind the resume because you've lived what seems like three or four completely different lives. You've had high stakes pressure jobs in Wall Street to the creative chaos of Hollywood to a real estate fixer or a real estate and corporate fixer, sorry. And now you're an author.
Right.
Walk me through all these specific versions of Ron. Like we've had Wall Street Ron, Hollywood Ron.
Well, it's funny, Kyle, because you said a key word which is popping up a lot of reaction from my book is reinvention,
Mhm.
and I'm not. I have a new word for you that I sort of say repurposing. So I've been repurposing myself each time. So I don't think the core skills change, and you once you find what your core skills are, then I and that's why I started the book off. Find your different passion. That can change. Doesn't mean it has to stay, as what happened with me. So I think I found my core skill sets really, learning quickly and project management, time management. So and I don't sleep much. So between those, yeah, those together, in my mind, I could be whoever I want to be, whenever I want to be. And a lot of people ask me, was it did you have money? Is it money? I actually a couple of times in the book, I was negative. So it goes up and down. It's not money that drives the challenge and or the reinvention. It's enabling yourself to positively think about it and then working hard. And today it's that's a tough one. I find a lot of people don't want to work hard. So for me, it's more and the other thing drives my passion, which I found, and actually writing this book was so, really self-searching. Found a lot out about myself, both inside, outside, views, how people view me. It's very interesting when you sit back for a second and try to retrospect a little bit. But I still think it holds true. I like challenges. That's my passion. So I try to find the next challenge.
So was there a chapter or challenge that was kind of hardest for you to align with? Because these are still very different avenues. Like, was there one that was more real you, or were they all quite aligned?
The initial challenge of trying to figure out where I wanted to be was it a partner at a consulting company or the ultimate dream of being a Wall Street trader. And I thought it was Wall Street trader, and it ended up once I got there, it really wasn't all it was cracked up to be. And I went back to technology, which I had a core base in, project management skill sets, and I leveraged that into my own company. So a project management consulting company. So I think you may get there. I think that was a challenge. Um, I think every time you go into a new industry like film was very challenging because I thought I saw a lot of activities there that didn't make sense. They weren't really um, uh, efficient.
Okay.
So I'm an efficiency guy.
Hmm.
I've actually taught efficiency at a semester in college as an adjunct professor as well. I wanted to try that out. So, and that I'll tell about challenging too. But you realize there's a lot of people making money off of that inefficiency, and it's hard to change the world. And it's like trying to turn a big ship in 1 second. It just doesn't turn that fast, and you can't change something. So that was a challenge for me. If something makes sense, I think they should do it, and people don't want to change because they're making a lot of money.
So, looking at where you've been, you've sat in quite serious rooms, I can imagine, from Wall Street to the Oscars, but you mentioned the book is actually full of humor and very real life. So looking past the resume for a second, is there a moment that maybe might not have been funny at the time, but looking back is a story you like to share?
There's about 1,000 of them. I think part of what makes me drives me and people, but my kids don't understand. But I saw each one of them after the book. They're not happy. Why are you telling your story? I just think life's funny. So I think I find humor in just about every aspect of life every day. Again, I guess it's the efficiencies or how people act or move. I'm not laughing. I'm just looking at it and saying, how to change things. What one that's not the book. I go back to the college one. So I had a consulting company. I wanted to try professor, wanted to teach. I did some guest lectures, which was great. You go up there, you talk for 3 hours, you people this. Well, right away, every lecture I started with, what's the one thing somebody wants to know right away? I'll tell you right away. And as Neverly somebody raised their hand and says, how do I make a lot of money and not do a lot of work? I said, first question, first answer. Come on down, take your stuff, bring your stuff. I got right here an envelope for you. And he opens the envelope and it's a lottery ticket. And I was like, you win, and hopefully, bye bye. And I kick him out. So, I don't know. I tell people I'm not smart enough to know the easy way, but I know you can figure out the hard way. And if you want to put the work in, and I always think that's funny. And then when I tried the college professor thing, you realize there's work behind it. It wasn't fun work for me.
Hmm.
Grading papers was not fun. And I think the advent of technology, they could text you questions all day long. The kids just stop nonstop. I was like, it was I wasn't able to teach as much as the knowledge as much as just go through the methodology. So maybe the book will help people learn that way or spread the word around a little bit.
So, on the note of the book, you've been personally living these principles for decades, surviving Wall Street, Hollywood, even lecturing. But writing a book is quite a massive undertaking. Why now, like this moment, have you felt compelled to write the book, share
Well,
your principles?
well, I'm 58. On my 55th birthday, I decided I was at a brunch, and somebody new came with a friend of a friend, mostly friends that I knew, and said, "Well, how'd you switch this?" And everybody went, "Oh, here we go again." So one of the girls had a couple of women had a couple of drinks. Said, "Why don't you write a book so you can just give it to people?" And I was like, "Oh, I was looking for a present for myself and another challenge." And I said, "All right, yes, that's the whole theory of the book, right? You say yes to certain opportunities." I said, "Yes, I'll do that." Then I researched which friends had an author friend
Mhm.
who was published, uh, preferably a woman, because I already have the male point of view. I like to have everybody's point of view.
Mhm.
Um, and then Ghostwriter started. Then you realize how hard this is to figure out where to start. What's the angle of the book? Stopped about a year into it. Took a few months off. Met somebody else randomly at a party. I was in Miami at a breathwork party. Believe it or not, there's such a thing as breathwork for clarity. And person next to me knew a publisher in Nashville, and I sent her a draft for the first chapter. She said, "Why don't we change it this way?" I mean, that's when we turned it more into the career change, self help angle, which I actually prefer because telling my stories is whatever. I don't need the accolades, and actually, this is tough because this is literally now my second live podcast. I don't know. Well, I don't mind speaking in public, but I don't need to. So I usually give when I get gigs. I usually give it to my friends.
All right. Um,
So, but this time you can't because I wrote the book.
so on the note of saying yes and no, to say yes to a new life is usually you have to say no to an old one. What was the hardest no for you to get to where you are now?
Hardest no. It's a great question, Kyle. Um, I don't know. It's a great question. So looking inside, I would say there is something to, I have friends. You always, it's not my no. It's when
Mm,
I said no, others continued on the path.
mm,
And a lot of times look at why do I keep making it so hard on myself? Right. And
mm,
that's what my kids, why do you want another thing? Because it takes a lot to, as you said, reinvent, really repurpose in my mind. You got to start from the scratch. In the book, I was even an intern, like the movie Intern at
mm.
40. So you have to really do start like that, and it's harder. Whereas all I could have done is stayed on in Wall Street, CIO, some big bank, as many of my friends are still today or retiring from, and you know make the bucks. Have a lot of people do work, and they work hard too. Believe it, as smart as can be, but they don't have to worry about raising money or switching or learning a new thing. There's evolving in what they do. So something to be said for that. And I don't look at that as bad either. So I don't look at anybody else as right or wrong. Definitely no wrongs. I just always say there's no right. So they did what was right for them. I did what was right for me. They evolved in their roles, so it wasn't just doing the day to day, and that's what I tell people. So I've I've helped. So I've helped about 100 friends or acquaintances throughout the years do this kind of work. So I know it works if you need to, and I'd say at least 10%. I told them no, stay where you are, but don't just stay and do nothing.
Yes.
Stay and evolve. Be better at what you're doing. Take on either more responsibility, a new, if you're doing TV, say you're doing movies, take on sports, you know, expand within what you know. But, some people aren't, this should be too much for them, or this is not their makeup to go and try something completely different. And sometimes this is based on constraints, what I call constraints, or the lifestyle that they like their lifestyle. So why change that up? If you want a little bit more challenge, you can get that within your job too, within your work,
Yeah.
or even through philanthropy. Take on that. You don't need to switch careers.
Mm.
So sometimes the career, it's say yes, and sometimes say yes to stay, not to go. So that's I most of the times they're being told to reinvent themselves. I'll use your word again because you're supposed to reinvent yourself. It's over a lifetime, or you're getting in your way. And that's why I like repurpose, because it doesn't have to be a complete transformation. Relax, take a little steps, and maybe one little step might be enough too.
Mhm.
Or you realize you really are happy in what you're doing. And I think because I've looked at some of your things about the road, grass is always greener. So you can go chase it over there. Some people just also have to really just start with be happy with who you are and what you're doing, and be thankful for all the other people that don't have as much. And no matter how little you think you have, if you when you I do charity with orphans and in all these different countries, and they split up a cheese sandwich and they're happy having a quarter of a cheese sandwich. So we're sitting there, you can't go to that restaurant. You
Mm.
go to McDonald's. You're getting so much more every day. So it starts with also be owning yourself and being good with it, and taking responsibility, of course, which doesn't happen today either as much.
So that kind of flows quite well into the shifting out of the victim mentality. Was there a moment, or has there been a moment when you've maybe been in the trenches a bit? Deals are dying, production stalled, and you can catch yourself slipping? How do you pull yourself out of that? What's your initial trigger?
So I'd say almost every month is probably that issue, because when you really go out to reinvent, you got to understand it's going to be the road. The road is not like paved up.
Mm,
There's potholes, there's trick holes, there's big hills. I failed a few times. There's a movie that comes out that stunk. There
mm,
goes the money. You know, you have to. I think going into it, what helps you going into it, you have to ascertain what's your end goal, and then what's the worst case. So always think about the worst case so that you're prepared for it. And I don't make a whole plan about it, but understand it may happen.
Mhm.
So knowing that, you're not surprised. It's not happy, but you're not surprised. I think that's one of the keys. I think the other is this too shall pass. I had a couple of comments. Your book's not saying anything new. The chapters are all things we know about: time management, confidence. Yes, but it's the application of them
Mhm.
and it's the steps together. That's what I could advocate. You can't skip steps. And if something happens, you fail, it'll get better tomorrow. It'll pass. People have succeeded and gone to jail, come back and made a career of themselves. So there's really, again, as long as you're able to survive it. And again, I always say just have a little bit of an emergency plan.
Yeah.
I don't like thinking about the negative, but we all have insurance.
Mhm. So you mentioned something in there, and kind of in your book, you talk about mastering doubt. Is doubt a sign we're on the wrong path, or is it a requirement to find the right one? Like, how would you distinguish between healthy fear and a gut warning?
Doubt everybody has doubt, and
Mhm.
you can go down a path and have doubt. But I think I look at doubt as a warning sign that not that you're on the wrong path. Wrong path is thing. You should have different criteria for that. What are your success criteria? And that's separate. Doubt is, am I doing the right things to get there? Am I doing enough? Do I have the right people around me? I always say get a strong team that do enough research. So all the doubts should be able to be handled by addressing them. So I would take them as concerns, not doubts. I would change. That's how you get out of that mindset. And doubt is just if you're so doubt is more for the taking that first step.
Yeah.
So I look at so that's the next piece that I've heard about. So the feedback again, I learned from it.
Mhm.
Somebody told me that yes to them meant yes at the first step, taking that first step. And then you get out of doubt. You have doubt sitting on a couch, thinking about it. You don't
Yeah.
have doubt if you're doing things. You have concerns, and then you can address them. Take the step, move forward. Even if it's baby steps. Yeah, listen to a podcast. Go take a course at night or online. I'm still a believer in person, but I'm old. What are you gonna do?
Yeah,
There's
that,
something said about networking in person versus online. So
oh, I totally agree. I'm ironically, far more of an in-person type of person. Which in your point there reminded me of a recent conversation I had about you can't doubt yourself when you're moving. Obviously, doubt is mostly procrastination, and procrastination comes from not doing.
right.
So someone said, if you keep stepping forward, you don't have time to doubt yourself. So
Yep.
yeah, it's very
It's a
much.
path. You correct the path. You can't. You're sitting
Mhm.
here doing nothing. You never. And that's the yes. And a lot of people ask. You can't say yes to everything. It's not saying no. To things. It's just saying yes to the right things and having a path. Have a plan.
Mhm.
Plans help. I find it. I'm not every bit of every day has to be structured, but having a nice structure and a goal. Always keep where do you want to be in the end?
Yeah.
If you have an end goal, you may veer off course, but it's up there. If it's climbing to the top of a mountain, if it's
Mhm.
sailing across to the other side of a river or a lake, you know where you want to go, so you got to figure out how to get there. So
Yeah. It's like the what's it called? The cheese and trap
mhm.
mentality. Your biggest driver is often what you're running away from, not what you're running to. So if your doubt is worse than the trap is, you're just going to stand still. Whereas if the trap
Right,
is coming at you, you're going to start moving towards that goal.
that makes sense.
So going towards the kids are all right.
Hmm.
Massive movie, big in Hollywood, but people often say Hollywood is built on a bit of smoke and mirrors. Did that environment test your identity more than Wall Street? Obviously, Wall Street's a bit the same. Like, how do you keep your head on straight when these sorts of industries are such ego builders?
So that was my second movie. I flew out to, and it was a movie filmed in LA. So here I am, stereotypical. I get to set first day of shooting.
Mhm.
I had said no to the movie three times. I read the script. Uh, I had my strong team telling me, if you want to, you're going to only make a difference by doing something on the edge. At the time, it was very edgy, and this is a good cast, good crew. See if you can get a good position, and then it's you got to go out there. So I listened. I went out. Being on set is one of the most boring things in the world. So the glamour, everybody, literally, I think was. One time when I was a kid, I used to poke hole, have to drive nails into tennis court tapes on
Mhm.
clay courts, and that was more interesting than watching them
All right.
on a set. You see an actor for a minute, then it's like moving lighting, this
Hmm.
10 seconds take half a day. So that became real, and what I noticed was if you take yourself out of the glamour or the for a second, and it's a project for me. I put into what I familiarize myself with. What was I comfortable with? It's a project. They've got a budget, they got a timeline. Then this filming finishes. So I taught a lecture on film finance at NYU film,
Mhm.
and I explained to people there was a bunch of directors class, and they were like, everybody's. They said, don't pitch me. Listen, filming takes literally. It's the kids are. It took 7 years from start to finish to get financed, casted,
Mhm.
filmed, and the filming took 30 days, 30, which is long for film, 32 days, I think. So, but if you take 7 years, you put it on, a weekly of 7 years, 350 weeks roughly. 4 weeks is a dot.
Yeah, no, it is.
So understand where it all comes from. Don't get above yourself. And what also helped in that film is Mark Ruffalo was in that movie.
Mhm.
And he saw me arguing and yelling like a real person. And he came up and he said, "You're a real person. I'm a real person." And he really is a real person. So understanding that they're not some of the actors are divas, but they're real people too. And once that happened, everything from there was much easier. The glamour comes, with success, but some was pumped up, and
Mhm.
you get over it pretty. I don't. It wasn't why I got into film. Again, there are ways to get into film if you just want to put money up and
Yeah.
be with stars. But I actually got into it to try actually make it a business, and I turned it into digital distribution company. I did and made money on more money on that than film on a board there. So I took my technology basis and tried to change the industry, and it's just where it was going. Some distribution for a distribution company I started for shorts, and uh, it's just interesting trying to monetize different areas because
Mhm.
I think there are with real estate, for instance, where I do in upstate New York, all the good properties have been built on. But I'm not. It's been a couple of hundred years. It's not like oh wow, I found a nugget. Look at this land, perfect. So you got to find the ones that aren't perfect, and how do you change them? And which are you able to? And that's what I was trying to do in the industry as well.
Interesting. Um, so as I can see from your resume and what you've been saying, the passion often bursts into life when you least expect it, and you are a prime example of that. For someone who might be feeling numb right now, who's maybe just going through the motions, would you say they need to force a change, or do they simply need to just wait for it?
So I'm going to combine the two. So
Hmm.
I never say jump ship
Okay.
instantly. That's not my. I don't say just jump and try something new, quit the job today. I always say keep a core because
Mhm.
you're putting too much pressure on yourself. For instance, I helped a younger woman who was doing teaching, special ed teaching.
Mhm.
She wanted to branch out of the sales. She said, "Well, should I quit? It's too hard." I said, "You go to school. You have 3 months off a year. You get all the vacation. You're home by 3:30.
Mhm.
I said, you got to start trying a few different jobs a night or weekends in sales and marketing." And she ended up doing um, finding a beverage company that they liked her out of the UK actually,
Mhm.
and she's now the head of their US practice, branding, marketing, exactly what she wanted to do. And she's finding and what I told her was, don't quit your day job, basically. Try this out, and even that job, don't even. That's not the ultimate job. That's free college. You're getting paid to go to college. Again, you don't look. So a lot of people today try to say they're not paying me to do that. They don't pay me to do that, or that's make sure you have a job that pays you to do what they say to do. But that's not where the passion is, because you wouldn't ask that question. If you were passionate, you would say, "Oh, they're not paying me to do that." You'd be doing more, and then they pay you more. So find something that happens with, but try it out. I call it sampling. Try out something, volunteer. Don't worry about the pay for it because you're getting the experience. If you get paid, it's bonus.
Mhm.
So it's live college, I call
Yeah,
it.
payment.
And everybody needs a smart person who wants to do some work and work hard at something, especially in startups
Mhm.
or new industries. That's where you're going to get your experience from.
Absolutely. Payment's not always in money. Sometimes it's an
Yeah.
experience. And I know that on the note of experiences, if you could go back to Ron at the start of your career and tell him who he would become, not necessarily what he would achieve, but who, what would you say?
I don't do the what if game too often, but you
Mhm.
ask, I'll help you out. If I can go, so am I going back with all the knowledge?
Yeah, going back with all the knowledge. So you could even say not Ron, someone who's at the start of their career with all the knowledge you've got, what would you say?
And believe it or not, and one of the things we haven't covered is focus.
Okay.
Pick something and focus. If you have all the knowledge now, what growth area of the world, the country
Hmm.
that you want to go into that's your passion, whether it's energy, uh, garbage management, pollution, AI, technology. What's the newest thing that you want to change or be passionate about? And then find it within there and focus. Find the right company. But try out a few and then find out, is it a startup? Is it an established company? It doesn't have to, remember, you can't boil the ocean, and you can't also do and boiling anything still takes time. So you can't rush it, but this path, set up a good path for yourself. And so I think with that knowledge, you can probably pick the right path and not have to make so many jumps
Hmm.
because you have more knowledge now. So, but inevitably, without that knowledge, you can get into the path, or you might have to make a few jumps. You don't know.
I like that. You can't boil the ocean. I had a conversation recently and we were talking about overnight successes, and they said all the best overnight successes took 10 years of work. So
Right.
I like that. You can't boil the ocean. Before we finish, one last thing.
Sure.
Every guest leaves a message for the next person without knowing who the next will be. It could be something you've learned, something you're working through, even just something you wish someone had told you years ago. My last asked, if nobody could see you, what would you be doing?
Is that right now, or
In general, if no one was watching you, so you didn't have the judgment of onlookers and failure and all these sorts of things, what would you do?
I don't know if you're gonna like my answer or not. Exactly the same thing, because I don't look at other people's judgments. It's not about their opinion; it's about what you believe in. And I strongly believe, whereas my kids would tell me to do. Every one of my kids, all four are different. They all think I should be doing something different, and or don't like this, don't like that, or embarrassed. There's no such thing. It's my life. I live it within the rules,
Mhm.
and non-apologetically. Unfortunately or unfortunately, I am who I am, as Popeye said.
That is
So
that's the perfect answer. That is, I loved it. What would you like to leave the next person? Could be a question, advice, anything.
All right, next person on your podcast.
Yeah.
Um, that's a good question. I would say, oh, no, I'm not going to try to give them advice. I'm going to try to help them with open up from the inside and express any fears.
I like that.
There we go.
The
And
book.
that's why I also don't like to be prepared. Like I don't like to look at questions ahead of time. Just right here. We if I can't, there's no notes here. There's no anything. It's great. I really appreciate. This is great, Kyle. I love the format.
No, thank you. And I really enjoy
And
this
thanks
too.
for the great questions too.
Um, I prefer it's more real and less scripted.
Yeah, and this thing. The book. I don't know where it's going to go.
Hmm.
There's interest levels. There's a workbook, which is a little bit like more about how I applied it. For this next chapter, it might be. There's going to be an online like 3-hour summit in February, but there may be courses. I don't know. Again, I didn't do it for that purpose, but we'll see where it goes. See what interest level. I'd like to help people, so maybe this will help somebody for sure.
I look forward to seeing where it goes. The book in
All right.
question is Say Yes to Your Own Success. It's out now, and as you mentioned, you've got your summit, the Say
Yeah.
Yes Virtual Summit on February the 5th, 2026.
Yes.
So
And
every
you get it ticket by purchasing the book, or paperback,
Mhm.
uh, and some other providers as well. But Amazon's the easiest place, I think, for everybody. And the website's ownyoursuccessnow.com, and you can click there as well and see all the different things as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much for this. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Kyle. Much appreciated.